Welcome to Yellow's Talker Show. This is DV LeBron. I have a very, very special guest today. I have Mr. Judd Mccutchen. I'm trying not to mess it up. WISD Place 1 school board member who is running for re-election. How are you doing, sir?
I'm doing well, DV. Thanks for having me.
Well, thank you for coming on. I always love having WISD on. Talk about what's going on in that district. That's a big district in the county seat and a lot of stuff going on. There's been a lot of growth, Judd, and there's a lot of new people. So I wanted you to go ahead and kind of introduce yourself, like if you just showed up.
Okay. Like I said, my name's Judd Mccutchen, lifelong resident here of Waxahachie. I am a second generation WISD graduate. Both my parents graduated from here back in the 60s. I've got two kids currently in the district. One is in junior high at Felty. She's going to be in 8th grade next year. And the other is going to be a 6th grader next year. And I've got a 1.5-year-old son who will also at some point in time be in the district. But I've had the pleasure of being on the board now for 6 years and look forward to many more.
Well, like I tell everybody who comes on here, thank you so much for wanting to serve your community. It's never easy to put yourself out there like that. And for everything that you do, you're going to get criticized and it's never quite right. And to put yourself out there to want to serve your community, thank you. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Why do you want to run for re-election?
Well, like I mentioned a second ago, this is completing my 6th year of being on the board. And there's been a whole lot of work that we've done over the course of those 6 years, planning for the future, planning for the growth. And I just wouldn't feel like it would be doing the community any justice if I got this far down the line just to leave before the work was completed. So there's a lot out in front of us. I'm sure you've heard the chatter lately in regards to the future planning and everything we're looking to do. There's just no way I could not run again based on what we still have left to accomplish.
Excellent. Well, definitely want to get the work done. I can understand that sentiment. Yes. What is the proper role of the school board in the lives of the people of Waxahachie?
Well, to make it really simple, our main tasks, honestly, are to hire a superintendent, hire the leadership of the district, and to be an overseer. We don't meddle in the day-to-day activities of the district, but also approving policy. I know that's very simplistic, but those are really the two primary roles of the school board. Most of the boots on the ground type of work is done at the administrative level, at the campus leadership, and in the classroom. So I guess that's the best way I could put that. And
I'm going to have one of the leadership that you were one of selecting. Mr. Hollingsworth is coming on here soon. I believe it's in April. He's coming on April 20th. He's coming on, and we're gonna talk bond, and we're gonna get to that in a minute, a little bit. But if you're reelected, what is one of the priorities you'd like to see happening? Can you name off one that you'd really like to see happen?
Yeah, I guess if you would say one in particular, and this, piggybacking off of who you just mentioned, Dr. Hollingsworth, we established within the district a balanced scorecard here about a year ago, and it sets forth really clear and precise steps that we can take to ensure student growth. After COVID, a lot of the kids fell behind a little bit, and you always want your students learning and growing, but there wasn't really a measurable way we could go about doing that. And we have that now in this balanced scorecard. It is a living document, so it could change periodically based on the needs of the district, but it gives our staff and our teachers and our principals a target to shoot for and a way that they can see clearly how to get there. And we have seen progression in that already, and I think that's just going to continue. So that's something that has been pretty newly, implemented, I guess is the right way to say it. But I would love to see that continue to go up. We've got great students and great staff, and I think now we have a good foundation for them to follow, a path to follow to get the students there.
And that's good, because there was a lot of learning loss with COVID, and it's learning loss is something that it takes it takes a while to get back up. And
Yes.
I was talking with our local representative, and he was talking about there's several things going on in Austin with schools, but he was saying how he was saying off percentages of kids that are passing reading scores and math scores, and they were pretty low here in Texas.
Yes.
What do you think you have done to support raising this, getting away from this learning loss and going forward?
Well, I can't personally take, credit, I think, for
I know.
what all we did, because, there's the teachers had it very, very, very rough during those times. I was a parent myself, and we had to try to do the distance learning, which can be difficult. Just trying to give any support we can to them, whether it's, a pat on the back if we see them in the community, telling them how much we appreciate them. I know our district came out of online learning quicker than some others. We got a lot of good feedback about that, because it's just so much easier to educate the kids when you're face to face versus, over the computer. So,
okay. Now, speaking of which, do you personally, because I know you can't speak for the board, there's board leadership, and then, there's board members. But if something came over again and they wanted to shut down schools, is that something that you would support again, or you wouldn't?
I guess it just depends on the scenario. At the time when we went through all that, it seemed like something we should do, just out of caution for, students and everybody's health and safety. Looking back now, I don't know if it was the right call or not. But there definitely was a lot of people sick. It was real. So you always want to lean on the side of caution when it comes to everybody's health. So I would probably say maybe, just depending on what the circumstance would be, but I would hope not to ever have to go through anything like that again.
The problem with that you could look back now and say, okay, it wasn't good, but yes, you guys were in the middle of it, and you made the best decision with the information you had. One of the things that has happened with as of late is the growth. Sure. We've gotten a lot of kids, and I think that there was something like 1,000 new kids or something that came into the district. Mm-hmm. I could be wrong about the number, but I think I read it off the bond package. And so with all these new kids, what are some of the challenges that you see as a board member will be coming forward in attracting teachers and, sure, and space?
So the growth, just to touch on the numbers a little bit, over the last 3 years, we've had 1,500 more students enroll. And just this year, we're pushing 800. We're almost there. We will probably get there by the end of the year. And DB, just to give you an idea of what that looks like, elementary schools that we have here, the majority of them average around a 600 student capacity. Okay, and we have one elementary school, and it's our newest one, Simpson, that has a capacity for 800. So in 1 year, we've pretty much grown the size of our largest elementary school. And that elementary school I mentioned, that's the newer one that can house 800, is already full. This past year, we were having to bus kids from Simpson to a different elementary school just so they could get the classroom time that they needed. And in addition to that, that brand new school that just opened a couple of years ago, we just approved the purchase of 2 portable buildings to go behind it because they're already out of room. So the growth is real. It is putting, a little bit of tightness on the facilities and the room that we have. And, when I started on the board 6 years ago, that was a hot topic then. I mean, whenever people would ask me, what are some of your priorities, that was one of the main ones, was we have to prepare for growth. And that's been there every year since. We get demographer reports at a minimum annually, and they've always projected us to grow by around 3 to 5% per year. And we've honestly either met that or exceeded it every single year since I've been on the board. So, we all know that people are coming. We have to prepare for it. And again, in order to take care of the staff, you mentioned that, we need to have the space for them. And, no teacher wants to have 30 kids in the classroom. It just doesn't make, the experience good for them or the experience good for the student. So we need to have the space. We need to continue to be aggressive in our pay and in our teacher salaries, and just have them a platform where they can succeed. And that's part of the 1,700 student or 17,000 student plan. That's the primary objective of that. Is, it's not about the buildings; it's about the space. I mean, every student needs a desk, so we're trying to get them one.
Are you confident that that the bond that's proposing, and we're going to go into that, the bond that's being proposed, are you confident that that leads to that goal that you, or at least goes in that direction?
Yes, I am, DV. It's a great package that was put together. A lot of community members went into working on this. It was about 70 to 80 people. They met multiple times for almost a year, and they went through the demographic data that I mentioned to you that we go through. They went through enrollment trends, and I mean they scrubbed everything and came up with a plan to present the board. Probably 90% of what you see on the bond was information that they had put together. We did tweak a little bit of it. The board did, and we also got some information from some community members towards the end of our process on some other needs that were critical that we got added in there. So with all of that input from people all across the district, I feel very confident about this plan. In the 6 years I've been on the board, we've had a number of bonds come up that, as a board member, we're in all the meetings, and it's easy for us to know, yeah, we need this. It's something that we need. Community members aren't always in those meetings, and so they may not know exactly what the district needs. Sometimes they may think it's just a wish list, but it's not. This is stuff that we know we're going to need, and it'll set a platform for us for the next 10 years.
Okay, and I have it on the screen right now, the bond proposal package that I got off of WISD site. Mm-hmm. Now it talks about adding 2 more elementary schools, a STEAM academy, and then expands Hancock, Finley, Howard, and gets land for future sites. That's correct. Proposition A. Mm-hmm. And what are your thoughts on that? Two new elementaries. Where is that looking to be built?
So we've got some available land right now on the site where the current WHS is. And so most likely the first one would go there. The second one, we are currently in negotiations with a piece of property for the second one, but I don't think we're able to communicate the locations of that just yet.
What's the greatest need you personally as a board member? I know you can't speak for the whole board, but what do you see in this bond package? Which, one item, which one prop you say, hey, that really needs to happen that you've seen?
Well, that's a good question. And looking at this overall plan, like I said, that all these community members came up with, it is a comprehensive plan. So it's not a wish list of 1 or 2 or 3. This is a package that I firmly can get behind on everything. Now, most people see propositions, and that's a really good question, because that's what a lot of people say. Well, which one do we absolutely need? Because I'll vote for that one. This whole plan, I'm 100% behind it. I hadn't been this excited about a bond ever, I don't think, because of so much work that was done behind it, all the data, and just it sets the runway, for the next coming years, as opposed to just nickel and diming something every year to kind of kick the can down the road. This sets us up, when I say long term, for the next decade, and also, the fiscal responsibility of the plan. It's only 3 cents of a tax increase. And, by no means are we here to get in the pockets of the community by any means. I mean, we have to pay for it too, out of our pocket. But if you break down the cost of this bond, if everything was to go through, and you see it right there, on a home valued at $326,000, it's $5.61 a month. Okay, so as a citizen, not as a board member, if I wasn't even on the board, and I can see all this growth coming in, and I knew, that's a cup of coffee per month. Okay,
it's actually more.
Yeah, how can you not get behind that to give a student a desk, in the district? So to me, it's extremely responsible, as far as the money goes, and it's a good thing. We all went to school at one point in time, and our families and grandparents had to, pass bonds for us to go to school. And it's funny, I saw today on social media, it's a local lady whose parents used to be involved in the district. And she posted old stuff about Waxahachie, and she had an article in there about the bond and how it was going when Northside was built. And that's where I went to elementary school. So it's interesting how it's kind of come full circle.
And these things do. They tend to do that. There's concern. And you touched on it. You said you pay taxes too. The people of Waxahachie, Ellis County, and Texas in general are having a major problem with school or property taxes, and the school taxes happen to be the biggest part of it. that by far they take the biggest chunk. And there's people losing their homes for taxes. And I know that the board doesn't do appraisals. I know that the board, there's a lot of structural problems with the property taxes here in Texas. I know that, but that you do set a rate, and raising. Do you think that? What do you think about taxing and adding extra, adding a higher tax rate?
Okay, so just to touch on that a little bit, I've been on the board again 6 years. Since I've been on and this is not anything of my doing. Honestly, the staff has more credit to the staff than us, but the tax rate's actually gone down 3 or 4 times since I've been on the board. This will be the first time that we have increased the tax rate in 6 years. And so if you look at comparable districts, and I don't have this in front of me, I'm sorry, I should have had this information, but comparable districts that are going out for bonds that are our size, with this increase, we are still right about on par, if not a little bit lower than what they are. That was presented to us at a meeting here in the last month or so. Again, I know increasing taxes and having people have to pay a little bit more is not something a lot of people like to swallow. But, like I mentioned, when you break it down to, you don't look at it as a $595 million bond. You look at it as, how is this going to affect my wallet every month? And, I just have a hard time thinking somebody can't carve out $5 per month. And, if their house is valued at less than that $326,000, which, personally mine is, it may be less. It may be, $4 a month. So I just think there's a way, if people can come together and get behind it, that, there's no way that it shouldn't be anything that puts somebody out of their house for that little of an amount monthly.
Okay. That's a fair and honest answer. Whenever, taxes, whenever you're asking the public to give you more money, there definitely has to be transparency for where that money is going. Do you feel that you in general, and I know you're only one vote, but that's why I always preface this. Mm-hmm. Do you think that during your time, you have been a good steward to the taxpayer money?
Yes, sir. I do. We have a great team at the administration building that handles that. We have got, I think it's since 2002. They have it's called the first rating, and that's done by the state. And we have had the top rating since 2002. Any audit that we've had, annual audits have come back completely clean. The same way as of course, I wasn't a part of this, but the last bond that they built the high school with, they did an audit of that. Every check over $500 was audited. Everything came back fine. So yeah, that's actually a strength of the district, is the fiscal responsibility of that. A lot of that credit goes to Ryan Calden and his team. They do an excellent job. And so, if anybody ever wants to see the books, I'm sure he'd open them up wide for them to take a look at, because they're pretty solid.
Yeah, I want to touch base with him just to, when I present this, because I'm going to be talking with Clay and I'm going to be talking with the superintendent. I want to be as transparent. I want to put those numbers out there so that the people can see those numbers, and then have you guys talk about them. You touched on it, $580 or $590 million total for this bond package. That's $500 million added to the current debt. That's going to raise a little bit of the debt service. You were going to be paying more. Interest rates are a little higher right now. So what do you do to assuage the fears of people saying we're going into way too much debt?
Well, that's part of what Ryan Calden's team, they watch that closely. And I think I made a note here, since they've refunded bonds 6 times since 2011. That's saved taxpayers over $29 million. So as the time comes where they can adjust some things on the back end, they will do that, and that helps to accelerate the repayment of these bonds. And so we'll definitely do as much of that as we can in order to get these paid off. And with Ryan at the helm there, I think we should be good.
I definitely want to, because I talked with, I'm also going to have MISD on and talk about their bond, their superintendent and board president, because they have kind of the same thing going on. We're both growing, or, both the cities are growing. So before I close out, is there anything else you want to say on that bond?
Just, one of the things we value at the district is choices. And that's, part of our core values is that. And this bond will allow many, many more choices for our students. Just for example, CTE, there's a limited number of spaces for students to do some of that stuff. athletics, band, you name it. And by having that second comprehensive high school, the additional, junior highs at some point in time, it just opens the door for kids to stay engaged in those extracurricular activities. And, it's proven that will also help in the classroom, because if you have something that you're, wanting to work for outside of the core curriculum, it helps you engage in that and stay on top of your academics as well. So that's,
yeah, no, and that's why they do extracurricular activities. And then you have, when it comes to CTE, you could make a very good life on a trade, and
Sure.
the trades are in high demand. They call it the graying of the trade. Old guys like me we're getting closer to the back end of the trade career, and they need new people in there. So, just touching on it, just kind of a 30,000 foot view. What do you think about what the district's been doing with CTE, and do you support it?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. The CTE is awesome. When I was at school, I didn't do CTE, but from what I remember, it was pretty much just like a wood shop, they now have, culinary, which I would have been all over that when I was in school. The welding program, the stuff those guys put out is just amazing. And most of the events that they go to, you see them coming home with awards. So it's definitely a good option. College, getting a 4-year degree and coming out with all that debt is not as popular as it used to be. So for a kid to be able to come out of high school, pick up a trade and start making money and building a career or opening up their own business is honestly, to me, almost on par with going to college nowadays.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's definitely not as productive. You got people with, $90,000, $100,000 in debt, and they're not working in anything that has to do with their degree.
Sure.
And if you've had student loans, and I'm sure you have, those things don't just go away. You got to keep paying them. So you're running for reelection, and this is the point in the show when you get to talk directly to the people, Judd, and tell them why they should vote for you.
Okay. Well, like I said, I've been a servant on the board now for 6 years. Prior to that, I was part of the Waxahachie Education Foundation for, I think, 6 full years, maybe 7. But my heart is here. I'm a product of the district. And I'm fortunate enough to have graduated from here, still hold a career here. My family's here. And so I want to do the best for the community members. I want to do the best for my kids, my family, the families of my friends and their kids that go here, and just working as a team of 8 with our board and with the superintendent here of late has just been awesome. Dr. Hollingsworth has been a breath of fresh air and done some really good things, and it's just a good team, and I'd love to stay a part of it. So I guess that's what I would say.
Well, thank you so much for doing what you have in that board. And definitely that hire, that draft pick was really good, man. That was a really good draft pick there with Mr. Hollingsworth. He's a good man.
Yes, he is.
So thank you so much again for coming on the show. And I hope to see you again sometime. And, I appreciate you taking my questions.
Absolutely. Davey, thanks for having me, and be willing to do it anytime.